We are here at the 2022 Hoosier Crossroads Conference Cross Country Championships. Welcome in, everybody, here to Noblesville, and what really could be considered a runner's day. It is cloudy, overcast, 64 right now, going to get up to about 72 later on this morning, but not until most of these runners make it all the way through. This conference cross-country championships is something that these kids look forward to every single year. It is an incredible course, an incredible venue for cross-country, and we are excited and proud to bring it to you today live. I'm Adam Grubb, along with Steve Olson, former cross-country coach and current teacher here in the Noblesville district. Steve, as a ex-cross-country coach, and that'll be the last time I refer to you as an ex-cross-country coach. As a cross-country coach, Steve, this type of morning is, in fact, a runner's morning. And this is what, when they get up, they're like, oh, let's hope it's not raining. Let's hope it's not super hot. It is the end of September. This is what we hope for weather conditions. Let's start there. Is this a perfect day to run?
Yes. I would actually say this morning is the perfect morning, and they can't get this race started soon enough because not only is it cooler, but the wind is not a factor at all. It's not windy. It's a very still and quiet morning in that regard. It's cloudy, so we still have overcast, and even though the sun's up, it's not out. And so I think these runners, in my opinion, the runners are probably anxious, not just because of the race. They're anxious because it's like this is the perfect day. So let's get this going.
So let's talk a little bit about the morning and the day here. The course opened at 8:30. As fans started to pour in here for this race, they had the coaches meeting, and the girls varsity race will start here at 9:30 in just about 8 minutes from now. Now the schools that are involved in this, we'll get to some of the main runners here, and you've been lucky enough to coach some of these and see them as they went through middle school and here into high school. So very exciting for you. We'll talk a bit about the course, and as we go through the broadcast this morning, there's 4 races: the girls varsity race at 9:30, the boys varsity race at 10, and then we have the girls JV at 10:30 and the boys JV at 11. And the course itself, when we talk about this specific cross-country course here in Noblesville, this is something that you've heard coaches say for many, many years. This is where people love to run. The kids love to run here. It is a good spectator course. How much truly does a course have to do with the times, with the speeds, and with these runners and just their attitude as they come into a conference championship like this?
Well, I think, one of the reasons I think they like to run the race here is it's always just a very clean running race where you don't have to worry about a whole lot of hiccups where you're going. There's also a lot of diversity to the course, which runners like. They don't like to just run, out in the open field with nothing around them. And so this has got a little bit of everything. You've got straight chutes, you've got curves, you've got a woods loop that, can really be exciting for runners running back in the woods. It's got some hills to it, but not too many hills. So I feel like this course has got kind of a sweet spot when it comes to cross-country courses. And, I would say, the middle school runners always used to label this as one of the top 2 courses to run at. And then I would also say, you got other people from the area that were not Noblesville who always said this was just such a beautiful and well-kept and maintained course, and they always loved coming here.
And the rain last night didn't really have any effect today with mud or any of those situations, right?
No, it wouldn't. It's going to be a little slick out there, but it wasn't, we didn't get enough rain to really call it. The only part of the course that really gets bogged down is the woods can sometimes get bogged down back there in the back because that's the lowest part of the course. But like I said, it's been pretty dry recently, and there's there wasn't a lot of rain last night. So even though it might be a little slick, their spikes will be perfectly acceptable for that. So
the schools here for the Hoosier Cross Country Crossroads Conference Championship: Avon, Brownsburg, Fishers, Franklin Central, Hamilton Southeastern, Noblesville, Westfield, and Zionsville. And they have what is called lane
assignments. Yes.
And so explain that to those that might be new to running. They might have a grandchild here in this race watching it online, or just really for those that are unknown to the cross-country space. This lane assignment for schools is actually more important than you would think.
Correct. So lane assignments is where you are positioned, and it's usually just luck of the draw. They'll just draw it out of a hat or, randomly assign it to the teams. So we've got 8 teams today, so there's 8 what they call boxes on the lane assignments. And these boxes would be about 3 to 4 feet in length for each box. And then you can't go past that. So you have to stay in that sort of 3 to 4 foot area. And so when as a coach and as a runner, you have to kind of think of positioning. So you always put your fastest runners in the front, but then you want to make sure that you allow for where the placements of those runners would be. And then the lane assignments also as a team, I think, can affect the start of the race. So if we have 8 teams today, there's 8 boxes across. It goes just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And the 4 on the outside, 1 and 2 and 7 and 8, are sometimes the best positions, depending on what type of a runner you are, because everyone is kind of running in the same place for what they call the first chute to run in. And so if you're in box 3, 4, 5, or 6, it's in the middle, it can be a little bit more challenging. You can get boxed in, as they call that, and boxed in just means they're pinching you at the start of the race. And so, there's some strategy at the beginning of the race. That's kind of what I would say is some of the most anxiety a runner has at the beginning of the race, because you really cannot, especially if you're in box 4 and 5 right in the middle, you can't afford to get boxed in, or else you may not be able to recover after that. So the first part of this race really is important.
So the defending champions from last year, the Noblesville Millers, Hamilton Southeastern won in 2020. So as the Millers come in here as defending champions of this championship from last year, there's some pressure, obviously. They want to make sure that they have and we're just a couple minutes away here from the start of the race, and as this is what is called a run out. So this is when they are just that last couple seconds and minutes of preparation, making sure they've been on warm-ups all morning long, they've been running the course, they've been doing what they can. But this run out is very specific in ensuring that they're activating certain muscles. They are working to that start. That first 400 yards is probably the most important. Is that right?
Yeah, I would say the first 400 to 600 meters are really going to be extremely important, because I always say there's 3 phases to the race, and the first phase of the race you're trying to sprint out to get ahead so you don't get boxed in like we talked about earlier and bunched up. Then you have to kind of settle in and find your pace that you can run. And then the last part, which we'll talk about at the end, is that last finish, that last 600 to 700 meters is really important as well. So,
all right, we're ready for the start here of the varsity race, women's race. Let's listen to the official starter here as we get ready for the whistle and the gun and the start of the 2022 Hoosier Crossroads Conference here in Noblesville.
Look at your feet. If they're on the line or over, pull them back. I don't want to bring you back up. Simultaneous, signifying the start of the race. You have plenty of room to get it sorted out. Make sure no big time moves, one full stride no matter where you're at out on the course. You have a lead gator, we have a trail gator. So everybody knows the course. There is no one here that doesn't understand where you're running, correct? When you're coming into the finish chute, you will cross both blue mats in order to be scored. And I know a lot of you like to have a watch on in order to keep your own time. I will forewarn you, be extremely careful on reaching across to turn it off.
So there's a rule right there, very, very specific to cross country, today's cross country, not from years ago, Steve, when we're talking specifically about timing yourself and the watches. That is still legal, it's still available, you can still keep your pace and keep your time, but you can't do certain things. And we'll talk about that here in just a little bit as we have the start of the 2022 Hoosier Crossroads Conference here in Noblesville. It is the Cross Country Championships, Chicopin Ridge Cross Country Course. It is the varsity girls starting here in just a second. About 11 to 12 runners on each specific team, and here we go.
Yes, and you can see as the gun is about to go off, you can see there's about 3 or 4 across, just like we were talking about in the box. So you have 3 or 4, probably your fastest runners up front, and then you kind of stagger it back behind there.
And we're off. The Hoosier Crossroads Conference Cross Country Championship as we kick off the girls varsity. And right out of the gate, a clean start, no issues at all. You're exactly right. They boxed in. They came right into a point there at about 300, 400 yards from the start. You see some pacing happening early here in this race, Steve.
Yes, and so when they're coming around that ridge, as you can see on the camera, they're about to turn this first kind of turn, and they're going to kind of be Xing our view there for a little bit. They're approaching what's the first. There's little markers. One of the great things about this course is they have markers for distance, and they're approaching the first 400-meter marker. So as a runner, knowing that and knowing where those markers are, that can help them mentally kind of settle in and know, okay, I've reached my first 400 meters. Now I can either scale back or settle in. Sometimes you might have a runner that goes out really, really fast. And if that runner does go out really, really fast, this is when you have to make a decision as a runner. You have to make a decision, well, am I going to try to stay on pace with this person that's really pushing themselves, or do I know what I can run and I'm not going to get kind of pulled into testing and sprinting too much there at the beginning?
Now let's talk about the course itself here. So this is not necessarily your typical loop course where in some schools they have very small areas and very small acreage to even put a cross-country course. You're seeing the same thing over and over. You are making laps. This is very different from a 3.1 mile perspective here. Let's talk about the course as the girls are going through here of the varsity. The start is pretty wide open, and then you come right into a woods and into some very tight trails early on in this race. They've got to position themselves, and more specifically, they have to make sure that they're not starting to fall back early through the woods area.
You're absolutely right. As we see some of the first runners around there, they're approaching now what would be the 800-meter mark, because there's a grove of trees out there by the soccer field. When you're looking at the screen there's a soccer fence that's kind of in the way, but you can see the runners passing. So this first part of the race, as you said, there's some tight corners, and so that's, again, why the start is so important, because you've got to be able to make sure you can get out there with those tight corners, because it's going to be a little bit before they get to a long straightaway. There'll be a long straightaway that's coming up, but it's going to take a while.
And, the course record here, or I guess, the course record would be from Ben Veach at 2015. He ran it in 14:53, and for the girls it was Sarah Leinheiser from Carmel in 2015 as well, running it at 17 and 24 seconds. Now, 17 minutes 24 seconds for Sarah Leinheiser in Carmel 2015 is the course record here. There have been some that have gotten close to that, obviously, but that's a 7-year run for a course record.
Yes, and it's an impressive run for 7 years for that to hold. So there's just so much talent in this area that, I'm sure there's some people that have gotten close to it, but for it to last for 7 years, that's impressive. So, and as you saw, they had the map up there for a little while. There's a few different loops on there. There's the map again. So they're going to be coming around, and they should be coming around to the straightaway up on the top left corner of the map there by the where Highway 37 kind of runs parallel to it. And then, as you can see, there's going to be a blue dotted line. So if you're unfamiliar with this course map, the blue dotted line is where they will come around for their second time running. So the red solid red line is where they're running first. So as they kind of turn around this corner, you'll see they have sort of a good long straightaway before they go into the woods, and that's when they'll hit their 1,600-meter mark. If you're unfamiliar, 1,600 meters is 1 mile, so that's also an important recognition as a runner trying to figure out where the 1 mile marker is.
Now let's talk about pace for a second. So as you start a race, there's always those early jitters and excitement, and truly when you start the race, you are running. You're trying to keep pace. You're trying to make sure that you conserve energy. You're trying to make sure that you stick to your game plan as a runner. But there's still that early burst that you get, and you're like, oh my gosh, I just came out a little fast there. What type of pacing are we looking for here? And as a coach, what are you telling the girls? Hey, make sure you're staying here. Make sure you're in this area. If you're in the middle of the pack, that's okay. What is the type of advice and coaching that goes into a race like this?
Well, that's a good question. I think the most important thing is this late into the season, you kind of figure out, or you kind of know where your pace is at and where your girls like to be. I mean, sometimes you would have runners who really, if they don't get out and they're not one of those top 3 or 4 runners at the start, they're going to have a bad race because they like to be in that lead spot. Sometimes you'd also have some runners, though, who kind of didn't mind hanging back, and so the start wasn't as important to them, and they can kind of make some ground catching up. But a big race like this, I would think that you would want to be, as we see the gator kind of cross, that's the mile marker right there. So the first runner will be crossing the mile marker as we watch on the screen.
His first runner coming through at 5:29, unofficial, obviously, on the first mile.
And as you talked about pacing, they're settled in now. I mean, this is, even though that 5:29, that's a fast time, but that runner is settled in. This is their pace. This is what they're going for. Anybody that's here, as we see more and more girls passing, if they are going to try to catch up, we would always tell runners to try and catch up before they get to this woods, because you're quickly approaching the woods, and it's really hard to pass runners when you get back into that woods. So this straightaway, if you're going to pass anybody, you're going to pass anybody now.
Jessica Hecadus is in the lead right now, getting reports from the field from Avon. Jessica Hecadus from Avon leading the pack and the pace as we speak here, just over 6:20 into the race. Again, course record about 17:45 on pace here. Steve, that's not even a question to them. They're not looking for course record here. They're looking for pacing. They're looking for stride. They're looking specifically to make sure they're in a good position, whether they're leading the pack or in the middle. And you see a lot of these runners that they have a game plan that the last mile and a half is really where they're starting to make their kick, make their moves, and start to pick off certain runners that they know that they can capture and get.
Correct. Even when your comment about they're not worried in a race like this, runners really can't worry about course records. It's even hard for them to really worry about PRs. There's so much that's going on in your head and your mind, and trying to make sure you're in a good state with your body, and making sure you're running fluidly, and you're not tight when you're running. Being obsessed with that time during the race is one of the worst things you can do. So we would sometimes, even at the middle school level, we would sometimes tell them not to run with their watch if you had a runner that was so obsessed with the time. And so, but these girls, they're high schoolers. Like I said, we're towards the end of the season. A lot of them know what their pace is, and they know what they're going for. They may have a PR or some sort of time in mind that they really want to shoot for, but that doesn't really come to grips in their head until they cross that finish line and they see the actual time, and then they can kind of go back and look at how they pace themselves. So, yeah, it's a race now, and it's a true race as far as they're battling back there in the woods, and like I said, it's really hard to pass someone back in the woods. So.
And that's really because of the spacing. It's because the girls they're tight right there inside the woods area. Once they get out into a little bit open field, they're going to start making some moves. Are they mentally thinking about the next 800 yards at a time, or where are they at mentally with what they want to do here with the second half of the race?
I would think they probably would. There's the first runner there. I'm guessing that's Jessica Jessica Hagedis from Avon. Yes, I imagine that's her. And so with the high school track, they run another woods loop. So I don't know how much some of them will. If they do want to pass, they'll pass right here on the straightaway where Jessica's running right now. That's the only place where it's really good to pass someone when knowing there's another woods loop to go. Where she came out of also in the woods, that's the base of the only real steep hill here on this course. So right before they exit the woods, there's a real steep hill, and then they come back off that hill. And so all those girls that we're seeing right now have just come off that hill.
Yeah, Jessica seems to have a pretty commanding lead here midway through. That was about 15, 20 seconds, it appeared. Separation. I might have missed a few of them that went through, but there's a pretty good separation between that pack. Now, as we're watching them come through, there's you have 4 or 5 in a row, and then you have a little mini pack, and then you have 4 or 5 in a row, and then a mini pack. That's kind of how it works. So you're going to break away. You're going to start to get away from those mini packs, and that's really the key. You want to stride out. You want to make sure you're in your own element and that you're not pacing with other runners that might be slowing you down.
Correct. Yeah. And as a coach, this would be sometimes how you coach the girls as well. You would figure out what your best packs are. You may have one really stellar front runner, but if you can get a good pack of runners that can kind of move as a pack, that can be a powerful force on the course. And so that could be something that's kind of important for them. So, yeah, I think the packs are definitely something that can be a powerful thing to use if you're a coach and has a pack. And that's also, we talk about cross country, there's a balance of individual achievements and team achievements. So you could have a really fast runner, but the rest of the team may be a little slower, and so you may not have a chance at winning a team championship, but you may have an individual that could win an individual championship. But if you're someone that has a chance to win a team championship, you also got to talk and coach through the team in a way to kind of strategize and make sure they don't fall too far behind as packs.
So we're at about 11 minutes into this race here, the girls varsity, and we are at the Noblesville Chickapin Ridge cross country course here. Just an incredible course. It's an incredible day for running, and we talked about this at the start of the broadcast. A runner's morning. It is cool. It is crisp. It is a fall morning, and this is exactly what they wanted. They wanted this type of weather. It's not windy. There's really nothing from the elements that will hurt them at all. This is all about them and their pace and where they are inside the race. And we got about a mile left here, I would assume, in most cases for some of these runners. And this is when they're starting to make moves. They are starting to truly understand, okay, this is where I've got to do a quick burst at the very least to pick off 2 or 3 runners. Are they looking ahead much further than that?
I would say that when they come out of this woods loop, so when you come off the steep hill that we were talking about on that corner, which is in the top left, there you go. There's this is that corner spot right above that bus in the picture. That's going to be right off that steep hill. So when you come off that steep hill, you want to have a really good momentum. If you can pass someone, that'd be great on that little turn. There's Jessica again, Jessica Hagedis, our runner from Avon, who's in the lead. But you still have. What's interesting about this course is you're going to be running kind of past the finish line, and you got to go out and do another loop to really get to that 5K distance. So they're definitely going to be thinking about picking up the pace possibly, but you don't want to pick up too much now because you still have a little bit to run, and it's not like they're just going to turn and make the big finish yet. So.
And she looks very, very strong, Steve.
Yeah.
She is, again, there you go. There's your second and third place runners, just about 10 seconds behind Jessica from Avon, our race leader here, the girls varsity. There's really not much more that she can do other than stay on her plan and stay on that pace. And obviously the last half mile, do her best to pick it up enough to where that separation goes even more. We're 13 minutes into the race here at the girls varsity Hoosier Crossroads Conference Cross Country. Glad you're joining us here on this beautiful race morning. I'm Adam Grubb along with Steve Olson, bringing you the championships this morning.
Yes, and while we're watching all of these girls, it's interesting. It's hard from our distance to see where they're all paced at, but this is kind of when, as a coach, coaches are probably starting to do what they call counting runners, and counting runners is just one of those concepts that you try to you try to grasp as a coach as the race is going on, because if you're interested in a team championship, as Adam stated, you're starting to pick up the pace because every person you can pass is going to matter. So as Jessica's out front and she's got a pretty sizable lead, everyone else is probably counting runners, and you may hear coaches say, you need to pass these two, or try to look for, we would always say colored, their colored shirts. So look for blue shirts, pass as many blue shirts as you can, or green shirts, depending on, where you're trying to fit in. The way they score cross country, for those of you who don't know, it can be, it's kind of a math game, because they score the top 7 runners and the others are not. So the others are not. So the others are not scored. And so when the others are not scored, you really want to get those top 7 to pass as many people as possible. But then you can also, after your 7th runner, this is where the strategy comes in. You got to really push your girls to still pass as many people. So even if you're not the top 7, you can still pass people and help out those top 7 in their placements. Again, I'm talking strictly for the team championship, not the individual championship.
Jessica Hickadas is still our leader from Avon. We're coming up on 15 minutes here. This is the final couple minutes of the race, and we're going to see them come around the corner here into the stretch here in just a few minutes. But you can still see them as they're coming through the woods there on the last pass of the woods. Still the mini packs, some separation, mini packs of runners. This is one of those. From a race perspective, this is it. I mean, you don't have a lot more time to make moves or to stay on strategy. Now you just have to run as fast as you can, and you gotta muster whatever energy is left in you, and however your legs are feeling, you've got to power through it. And that's the toughest thing about being a runner, is understanding your own body, but understanding the limits that you can push it here on the last couple minutes of the race and in these last couple turns and legs.
100%. So most of them, I don't know where Jessica's at yet, but most of them are probably out there by that soccer field again. That's where you're seeing the soccer field again. There's one more loop they have to make. And then just as you stated, Adam, once they make this final turn, they're running straight back here to the finish line, and that's when the kick is really going to start to happen. And if you got anything left, you got to give it as much as you possibly can. Seeing these the finish line and the flag in the distance.
Now we see the fans are starting to come here down to the finish line and make this huge tunnel of fans and family members. And this is probably one of the most exciting things about cross country. Whether you are first or last, is that energy that the fans bring and that your family brings here in high school cross country. Standing along that really big alleyway there, this does open up, and so changes and passing can happen here. And you can move 5-10 spots in the final standings of the race just here in these last couple hundred yards.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And depending on what type of a runner you are, some people were great finishers, and so some of these girls may have a really strong finish, and they may be able to kick really well at the end. And if they can, then they might have just been staying on someone's shoulder or staying right behind a few girls purposely, knowing that if they know they can outkick them at the end, here these last 400 meters, they're just going to do an all-out sprint for the final 400 meters, and we'll kind of see that as it comes across the ridge. I'll also mention if you have a runner or a girl who's maybe not as strong as a kick, this can be challenging because the finish line can sometimes be deceiving, and sometimes you start your kick too early, and if you start your kick too early, then you can run into problems as well because you run out of gas too early before you reach that finish line. So there's the lead gator. So I'm sure Jessica Hickadas, thank you, from Avon, there she is.
Yeah, and still coming right around that turn. Now this is the final stretch for her, and she has a pretty big lead there, and her kick looks strong. She looks really, really strong here. She comes down the final couple hundred yards here of this race. Jessica Hickadas of Avon coming in the last 100 or so yards here of the 2022 Hoosier Crossroads Conference Cross Country Championship. Jessica Hickadas, your winner at 18:02 from Avon. There's second and third, which we will give you their names here in just a second.
One was Noblesville. That was Nadia Perez finishing third, and I'm trying to find out. It's either Franklin's. I think that's Franklin Central who finished. No, it's Hamilton Southeastern. Hamilton Southeastern finished second. I'm not seeing her number yet.
And you see a collapse here at the finish line is not necessarily a bad thing. They've spent everything they can there at the end. And now here's the big pack.
Yep.
And this is where we see a lot of changes here in this last couple hundred feet or so.
Yeah, so we've seen 3 Noblesville girls pass. That is huge. Since there's 3, there's 4. I mean, that's a pretty big statement. There's 5. So that 5 Noblesville runners. Yeah, they're all coming in now. There's Zionsville. There's Westfield. Brownsburg has had their first runner finish. Okay, but with this many Noblesville runners, I think it's a pretty big statement as far as the team championship goes.
And you can see as they cross the finish line, it is that they are spent, and there's nothing you can explain other than just pure exhaustion, helping them, even moving them out of the course. towards the end of the finish line as the girls, they just collapse. And they have been running as hard as they can for 18 straight minutes.
Yes.
For those that have never run cross country, and you think to yourself, what are they doing? They're running.
Yeah.
They're running as fast as they can. They're running
Yep.
over 3 miles in 18 minutes.
Yep.
It is quite a feat. And this type of race brings a different level of stress too, because this is a big one. This is all the schools in your conference. This is something that specifically these girls have been looking forward to the last couple weeks, and it is here today. Still, as they finish through, there's over 60, 70 runners coming through at a time. And Noblesville had an incredible showing here at this girls varsity race with 6 or so in the top 10.
Yeah.
And again, we want to congratulate Jessica Hickadas, your winner from Avon, at an incredible race for her, for sure.
Yeah, time just over 18, probably around 18:02 will be the final time for Jessica, which is a very solid, really, really good performance. And yeah, all the girls are coming in. Technically, if you're still watching and you're watching the finish line there, you got the blue mat is what you need to really get past, but there's another blue mat about 3 or 4 feet past it, which sometimes can be hard for runners, but you want to get past both of them for your electronic scoring to count. So you can't just stop at that. That's why you see some of those runners when they're crossing, they're not just stopping after that first blue mat. There's going to be one more blue mat that's just out of the picture that they have to get past to make sure they score.
And they have, which there's not a lot of talk about this, but the paramedics and the support staff, the medical staff that are here at the finish line to help these girls both just make sure that they're standing up, make sure they keep moving, because once you stop, your body stops, and after something like that, you got to keep moving. You got to stand up, you can take a breath, but you've got to keep moving. You got to keep the muscles moving. You don't want to move into a spot where things are starting to really shut down. You want to keep active, and so a huge thanks to the medical staff and the volunteers and such that are here at the finish line to help these girls to ensure that they are as healthy as they can be coming across the finish line. And there's, as you can see there, Steve's was talking about the 2 mats. There's the 2 blue mats that we talked about. Runners still coming through, and this is, I ran in high school, Steve, and this is where I was. I was always near the back, and there's still something so special though, about finishing this race.
Absolutely. And this is the even if you weren't in the top 10, top 15, if your team was not going to be one of those teams that could really contend today, these girls that you're seeing pass here, some of them might have PRs here at 22. Their PR might be 22:30, and they were trying to get under 22:30. And this is one of their last races of the year, and they've finally done it. So these girls that are passing here, everyone has an individual goal along with a team goal, and that's one of the great things I've always loved about running. Is these girls are still giving it their all because they're trying to beat their own personal best, and that's a special thing in this sport.
Yeah, and that's a great point, Steve, that some of these girls, and we'll see this throughout the morning here of these races, that this is the type of sport that's individual and yet team. There's not a lot of sports out there, maybe with the exception of tennis, where that is the case. You have your individual records, your individual achievements you're trying to accomplish, and it's just you out there. It's just you out there running. But yet you have the team support. You have the team point system. You have this entire other team atmosphere with this sport. But at the end of the day, it's just you. So when you're thinking about your personal records, you're thinking about your own ability to get through this course and to get through this race. It really is a fascinating and amazing sport for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And looks like there's a few other girls that are going to finish. I think the majority of them are done, but, there's the second gator. So this may be the last one. And again, as you can see, even though she's the last one, or there's a few more coming. Are those the boys warming up? I think it was the boys warming up. Anyway, but the girl that's finishing right now, she's running as hard as she can. So again, that's the beauty of the sport. This would be an Avon runner.
Yeah.
Yep.
24:13 for her.
And I believe that is
the final runner. Congratulations to her as well for finishing. This is not an easy course, and it's not an easy race. by any means. And you can see, though, that from your winner, Jessica Hegedus from Avon, a pretty sizable gap there between first and second, about 20 to 22 seconds there, or 15 to 20 seconds. Steve, is that normal, or do we start to see as they get older some of these packs getting a little bit tighter at the top?
As far as normal, it all depends on. I don't know. So my knowledge of Jessica and her times compared to other people, it's hard for me to say whether or not that was expected or not. But it all just depends. I mean, sometimes you do have that one runner that everybody knows is just better than everybody else. They're faster than everybody else, and so there may not be a whole lot of chance to catch her. And Jessica might have been one of those people. My knowledge is just not as strong with that. But she won this pretty easily and pretty handedly. As we saw her throughout the course, she was the leader at every single spot, which was impressive. And my hat's off and congrats to her. I don't know what her PR was, but I'm sure she's excited being the HCC champion this year.
So that's it for the girls varsity race here at the 2022 Crossroads Conference Cross Country Championship. We are going to look at the course here and give you guys an idea and a sense of what these runners are going through today here live on Hamilton County TV. I'm Adam Grubb and Steve Olson for the Crossroads Conference Cross Country Championship.
Or let us know when we're ready to go.
All right, we're back here at the 2022 Hoosier Crossroads Conference Cross Country Championship. I'm Adam Grubb along with Steve Olson, cross country coach and school teacher here at the Noblesville School District. Steve, that first race, the girls' race was great. The boys' race is probably going to be just as compelling. I would assume there's so many great runners here in this area, and this conference specifically has always shown true leaders in cross country, and much of those that have been race leaders from their freshman all the way to their senior year. And this is no different this year with these guys. We'll talk a little bit about the course record, which is to me a crazy number. 14 minutes and 53 seconds by Ben Veach from Carmel, also in 2015, is the course record here. Again, 14 minutes and 53 seconds. And the meet record for this specific championship in 2017 was 15:17 by Gabe Findle from Hamilton Southeastern. Hamilton Southeastern is one of those schools that is a powerhouse and has typically been a powerhouse in most sports, but here specifically in cross country. Noblesville has had a really, really strong year. Avon's had a good year. There's a lot of great runners and great schools that are being represented here this morning. We are just a couple seconds away from the start. Again, as it is customary, the run out. And Steve, this is just that last couple seconds of preparation, making sure their bodies are ready, making sure their legs and muscles are ready to rock and roll.
Correct. Yes, this is we got when the official is giving them their instructions for their final runouts. Yeah, this is when they're getting ready.
Cross both blue mats, but remember, do not reach up and shut your watch off, or may mess up the finish line. So wait until you get past to shut your watch off. Any questions?
And as the boys are starting, so to recap the girls' race, we had the Avon runner, Jessica Hagedis, sorry. My apologies. Jessica Hagedis was the winner. And Noblesville, I would be shocked if they weren't the winners. They had sort of an emphatic win. So we'll see what this boys' race has to offer. Zionsville is ranked currently second in the state. So if they are ranked second in the state, we'll see if they can pull off a championship here. And Fisher's is ranked fifth in the state. So,
and they're off. A clean start so far for the boys. This is the boys varsity race. A couple of those quick leaders hitting. You can see that the teams are packed up, and that is one of the things too, that when you're on the start of the race, you want to stay close to your team, but you're also trying to get out as an individual. But that team kind of push is so important. That pacing, that understanding that your team is right next to you. Is there a team strategy when it comes to the start of a race, or is it all individual, Steve?
Yes, I think there's a team strategy. I mean, you want to get everyone on your team to have a really good start and not get boxed in. We talked about during the girls' race how you can kind of run in packs. Well, if one of your packs gets boxed in and doesn't have a good start, that would affect the whole rest of the pack. So definitely individuals want to get good starts. The team wants to get a good start. The strategy here is the same as we talked about in the girls' race. Everyone's trying to get to that first 400 meters, 400 to 800 meters maybe, depending on the boys and how fast they are. Here we just got the results for the girls' race, so we're going to take a look at those, and Adam's going to read off some officials.
We'll go through the official finishing now. Number one for the girls' varsity, Jessica Hagedis, a junior, coming in first from Avon. Second, Maggie Powers from Hamilton Southeastern. Third, Nadia Perez from Noblesville. Summer Rempe in fourth from Noblesville. Paige Hazelrig, and coming up in the fifth position, also from Noblesville. And so we were right on the money there with 5 Noblesville runners coming into the top 7 positions rather, in this meet. So a commanding varsity girls win there. Now let's go walk through the point system here quickly for the girls, because at 25, Hamilton Southeastern at 78, Zionsville at 93. So in Noblesville, Hamilton Southeastern, Zionsville, Franklin Central in fourth, Avon in fifth, Brownsburg sixth, Westfield in seventh, and Fishers in eighth. And explain to those that don't know how cross country. I know you talked about it earlier, but you're just joining us here for the boys' race. How is it scored?
So the scoring, and I might have not been clear on this in the girls' race, but there's 7 runners that really are the most important runners on your team running this race. The top 5, though, are the ones that score and are the ones that matter as far as point total. So that's why not only was Noblesville's win in the girls' race such a commanding and emphatic win, they only had 25 points because their top 5 runners finished 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th, and you add those totals up, that's how you get 25. So they're your top 5 runners, their places, you add it up, and that's your point total. And so, Noblesville had 25 points. Hamilton Southeastern finished second with 78 points. That's a pretty, that's what you would call a blowout in terms of sports sayings. But this is why Noblesville's ranked second in the state. And watching the boys race now, Zionsville's ranked second in the state. So we'll see if Zionsville can do the same thing with the boys.
So we're 3 minutes into the boys varsity race here, and now we're starting to see them come through the around that soccer field area, just like we did. This is a blistering pace so far. It appears, and when you are middle of the morning here, they have been out here for several hours preparing, running. Is it better to be second out and kind of mid-morning here, or is it better that first race out of the gate?
I think it all depends on if the weather changes that drastically in between the girls and boys race. Probably not, but the wind I do think has picked up a little bit. The sun's out now, so I would think the girls race might have been better weather, but it's still not bad. Like you said earlier, this is we really were fortunate this September morning to have a really cool start to autumn instead of summer creeping back in. So I'm sure the boys are enjoying this weather. I'm sure they're enjoying. They're coming around. We talked about in the girls' race. They're coming around the straightaways. You see the first runner around there. It looks like, and they're or first runner's about to come around because they're going to approach the mile marker. So I'm sure they're going to come quickly here, with the first mile being sub 5 minutes, which is going to be impressive. It's 5K is our distance we're running here at this championship, and that's 3.1 miles. So you divide that up, and I'm sure we're going to have the leader here just under 5 minutes, which is, man, it's fast.
And to put that in perspective, Jessica Hagedis, your winner of the varsity race, her pace was 5:50 per mile at 18 minutes and 4 seconds for her race. And now you can see as they all come through that kind of real first test of the first mile, and they're checking their pacing. They're understanding specifically, are they on strategy, are they on pace for where they want to be. Every runner there, especially the top runners, they have something in mind. They have a plan. They have a strategy. They are not just running to run. It might appear that way to some, but they are running with a purpose. They understand where they need to be. They understand where they need to be inside the pack of runners, and more specifically where they are from a time perspective as they come through the first mile of this race. And this 5 minute or so, 5 to 5:30 for a mile is a blistering pace.
Yes, and it will be interesting as well as we continue to watch these boys past the first mile marker. It'll be interesting to see, because it did not seem to have a lead runner that had the commanding presence that Jessica did in the girls' race. So if there is not going to be one lead runner that's really going to kind of command the race and really come out with a pretty sizable distance, that can make the race really interesting. So we'll have to wait and see as they enter the woods. So they've now entered the woods. It's going to be hard to see them. There's not really a spot in the cameras that you can see them right now, but they'll be back in the woods for a little bit. They'll do the first of 2 woods loops here, and then we'll see if we can tell by the jersey color. We're going to see if we can tell who's out in front when they come around here.
Adam Grubb and Steve Olson here at the Hoosier Crossroads Conference Cross Country match. This is towards the end of the season here for these runners, and they have been at this since August and summer runs, and they've been running 5 months or so preparing for these types of championships and these types of races. Do you truly get stronger as the year progresses as a runner, or are you towards that latter part, your muscles are shot, your body shot, you're done with running? Or is this the time where they're at their peak, obviously their peak physical condition, but peak mental condition as well?
That's a great question. I think first we'll talk about the physical. I think physically you always want to be in your peak position right now. We're entering in close to regional or sectionals and regionals and those state tournaments, which a lot of these schools that we're seeing today, like Noblesville, Hamilton Southeastern, Zionsville, Brownsburg, they are going to be competing in this as they come out. That looks like a strong pack of. It looks like there might be a Noblesville in the lead, but then it also looks like a strong pack of Hamilton Southeastern runners. There's a lot of white jerseys. I don't know who the white jerseys are, but it did look like a Noblesville runner might be out in front. Anyway, so yes, the physical, you want to be. They're gonna, and again, as you watch, the boys are going to do one more woods loop here. But so physically, you want to be in peak position here. Hopefully, you've given your body some breaks throughout the season, and you've trained in a way now where you can kind of build up and really be at that physical peak. Mentally, I think it kind of depends. It really depends on how your season has gone so far. I think if you've been successful and your training has been giving you the results you want, I think you'd be in a really good spot mentally. If not, though, if you've been kind of disappointed recently with some of the races and how you finished, you can run a little tighter, and you can be running a little tighter because the mental hurdles of trying to make sure you get through that as the wind picks up. Apologize for the feedback, but.
Well, and we're about midway through the race here, less than midway for some of the front runners, and it is shocking even. I mean, hearing us talk for 8 minutes and how quickly 8 minutes goes, but out there on that course, it is a long 8 minutes. But they have seen, okay, here's where I'm at in the race. This is where the pace I need to be at. But more specifically, this is their strategic moment where they're going to start making some major moves to move up the pack of runners for sure. This is and we wish that we could give you the play-by-play, the run-by-run of every runner that's coming through. It's difficult, obviously, as you can tell, for us to see with the way the courses is. We're not able to put cameras in certain areas, and you and I, Steve, are stationary. So we're unlike the fans that are out there running around and following their kids. And that is what is so special about cross-country. It's such a unique sport, such a unique spectator sport that if you've never been to a cross-country meet, it's exciting, it's exhilarating, it's fun. And the runners need that excitement right there, that burst of energy, and especially when you're going through the woods, there's nobody back there, and then you come out and you have this mess of fans and family members and support cheering you on. There is this immediate burst of energy that you get, and you could pick up several seconds on your pace just because of that type of support.
Yeah, and that's a great point. So if you look in the top camera in the top left corner, right above that bus is where they're coming out of the woods. We talked about this in the girls' race. There's only one really major, what I would call a hill, and it's not necessarily a long hill, but it's a steep hill. And as you can see, I can see the cheers up there in that corner, so my guess is that first runner is coming down off the hill. We come down off the hill, but again, this is very different than the girls' race. We've got a pack of runners in the start, so there is not one person that's in the lead. That is their last woods loop, so they're going to get out, and it'll be very exciting to see out of that pack of 5 or 6 boys that we're watching who is going to be the individual HCC champion. You see, I think there's 5, and then it looks like there's one more about 3 or 4 seconds behind them. I don't know if he's going to be able to catch up or not. We'll kind of wait and see how that happens.
So we've got about 5-6 minutes left here for the top runners. We're at 10:46 on the race time currently. As a reminder, there are 2 blue mats as you cross the finish line that you must pass through. That first one is the official finish, but then there's the timing mat that's right after that. And as a scoring reminder, it is the lowest score that wins. So you're taking the combined totals of the top finishers by school to see who wins as a team, and then the individuals as well. And you know, it's fun to watch these fans as they move from course to course and turn to turn to get into, and in some cases the parents need to be in better shape than their kids so they can move through the course at a blistering pace to get a good vantage point of their child running and coming through the course. Now we're seeing the bottom right hand corner, this open space there, we're seeing a lot still packed. I'm not seeing anybody, Steve, that's truly out in front. They seem to be all pacing together in the front. Is that strategic?
It could be, yes. I mean, like I said, my knowledge of who might be the strongest runner in this field, a lot of these teams have run together before and against each other before, so everyone kind of knows who the top dog is, if you want to use that reference. And so everyone kind of knows who would be maybe the one that everyone wants to challenge. But if there was that one boy who is going to be the one to kind of set the tone here, it's been a pack here, and there's been 3 or 4 runners that have been able to stay with that individual. So, like I said, it'll be interesting when they go back. That lead should be going out by the soccer field. So you're seeing this is kind of the middle to end of the pack probably. of the race that you're watching on the main camera. The leaders are probably out by the soccer fields again, like we talked about with the girls' race. They're making that one final turn before they get to the straightaway, and then when they get to that last 400 to 600 meters, that's when the pace is really going to pick up, and we're going to find out from that pack of 4 or 5 boys who's going to pull enough inside them to get the championship.
And just to put it in perspective, again, the course record here, this specific course record at 14 minutes, 53 seconds. We're a minute 40 away from that mark, and we are not necessarily close to this finishing. That 14:53 is unbelievable as a course record. The meet record here at 15:17 from Gabe Fendel, Hamilton Southeast. But again, Ben Veach holds the course record at 14:53. We're at 13:22 currently in this race, and as the fans start to bunch up on the finish line itself and through the alleyway, we know that we are just minutes away from this finishing. And this is the part of the course. We talked about this in the girls' race, Steve, that there's no time to waste. You've got to go now.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you mentioned we're at 13:47 now, and the leader is probably going to be between 15 and 15 and a half minutes here coming up. So 15 to 15:30 is my guess will be the champion. And there's no time to waste at all. I mean, you are going as hard as you possibly can now. So I'm sure we'll see that lead gator come around the corner soon with that first runner, and we'll see how much kick these boys have left.
Again, Zionsville is the state leader in this conference, coming second in boys cross country for in the state poll from September the 19th. Fishers is 5th, Noblesville 6th. These are 3, and Franklin Central 7th. I mean, these are 4 powerhouse schools that are top ranked in the state, all running today. 14:35 now in the course. We should be seeing that. There's a lead gator there, Steve, so we know that the leaders are right behind him, and this is down the stretch.
Here we go. Yeah, we're going to find out if there's a lead runner. It looks like that might be a Noblesville runner out front, followed by Hamilton Southeastern in blue is my guess, or Franklin Central. I'm not sure who has the blue tops today.
And this is, unless there's a big kick at the end here, which we do see from time to time. He looks like he has a commanding lead.
Yes.
And looks strong, looks in perfect stride there to the finish line, and he is coming through at 15:13 as your winner.
Yes,
second at 15:15.
Asher Probst. Just won the Hamilton County Championship as individual with a great race. Hamilton Southeastern finished second. And then another Noblesville runner, I think that's Travis Hickman, finished in third, I believe. Then we had our first Fishers runner in fourth. And, yes, they're all coming across. Zionsville, another Noblesville. Wow, that's 3 Noblesville in the
top
5.
7.
Yeah, top 7. But now we just saw our second Zionsville, so this could be tight. We have 2 Zionsville now. We have another Zionsville that just crossed, so that's 3 Zionsville. Oh, here comes another Zionsville. So this will be a tight race, but Zionsville's starting to really – there's Noblesville and Zionsville at the same time. So this will be a close finish as far as teams are concerned. I think in the top 15, just by eyeballing it, we probably had about 4 or 5 Noblesville runners and 4 or 5 Zionsville runners. So this could be very, very different as far as team championship-wise between Noblesville and Zionsville. I think it's going to be one of those 2 teams, but it's going to be very tight.
And you said Probst is your winner,
yes,
and by about a second and a half coming across the finish line there. But man, he looked strong. He looked he looked as if he could go another mile with not a lot of issues. The kick at the end, he was striding nicely. Not much work for him the last couple hundred yards of that race, and truly and now we are starting to see here too some runners bunch up through the finish line. But again, both blue lines have to be crossed as an official timer. And some of these, I'm looking at some of these boys, Steve, they are flying through that. Now, as a coach, are you saying, hey, you had too much left? I mean, you guys are sprinting.
It's just so hard to tell. I mean, some of them, they might have had too much gas left, but others of them, I just think this was the adrenaline. It was, it might have been a little different than the girls' race. The girls' race, the packs might have been a little more spread out, whereas the boys' race, we might have had one pack that just really, really stayed together. But, yeah, it was impressive. You mentioned the finisher, our 2022 champion, Asher Probst. definitely was impressive. I don't know when the kick really started for that lead group, because we saw there was 4 or 5 of them that came out of the woods. But Asher definitely had a good 10 feet in front of his second place finisher. He on Southeastern. I don't know his name, but he had an impressive run as well, and he finished right behind Asher at second place.
We'll get the official timing and the official results here in just minutes. And our apologies. It is difficult to see the bib numbers as they are coming through. We cannot track everybody here on this broadcast, but we will be giving the final results here momentarily. At 18:14 now through the race, still some. If we can pan out for me and see the finish line and that final shoot, as we are seeing several of them still coming through. And this is one of those races that as the season is coming to close, this is also a preparation race for some of these leaders and some of these varsity members that are looking specifically for sectional regional wins. They're looking at this race, not just, of course they want to win it, but it's also a preparation race. How do I feel? How's my mental? How's my pacing? How's my stride? How am I working through specific challenges out on the course? And that's really something that goes unnoticed. There is preparation even for this race, looking ahead to the sectionals and regionals, and Probst, I'm sure, is looking at his run saying, okay, is that good enough? He's going to be checking the other times. Is that good enough to make it through sectionals, make it through regionals, and get into a state championship?
Yeah.
Where some of these top runners in these schools, and this, honestly, the Hoosier Crossroads Conference is one of the powerhouse cross-country conferences in the state, with 5 or 6 in the top 15 alone in state ranking.
Yeah, that's a great point. So I would compare it to, if you're watching, if you know any other sports comparisons, this is kind of like the preview before you get to March Madness with the NCAA tournament. So we had, this is their last big race before the state tournaments, and as Adam mentioned, we have 4 boys teams in the top 10 ranked in the state: Zionsville, Fishers, Noblesville, and Franklin Central, and we got 3 girls teams ranked in the top 10 of the state. So, and if I remember correctly, if they haven't changed it in the last few years, this is where they run the sectional race. So if you're in this sectional, this is the race you're going to be running at again. So a lot of these boys and a lot of these girls are going to be here again, competing against each other. So as you said, this is a good preview before the state tournament season really kicks off.
And we're waiting for the final results here to come in so we can announce those to you and get you the top 10, as well as the conference champion as a team is concerned for the Hoosier Crossroads Conference Cross Country Championship. We hope you've enjoyed the coverage today. It is difficult and challenging at times to see a cross country race in person, as well as here on this broadcast, just because of the nuances of the course. But my thanks to Hamilton County Sports for bringing this to you, as well as to you, Steve. Some great insight. It's been a real joy to talk with you and spend the morning with you talking cross country racing. I'll be honest with you, I don't miss it. And I know that's probably shocking you looking at my physique, but I don't miss that the running, but I do miss the team, and that this sport is so incredible when it comes to that team support, and it's something that unless you've been part of that atmosphere, if you have a kid that's in middle school, you have a kid that you're looking, hey, what can we get them into? If the hand-eye coordination is not there, if basketball, baseball, softball, whatever the case may be, running is something for them to really get involved in. A, for their own personal benefit, but B, the team atmosphere and the support that this sport brings is unbelievable.
Yeah, that's a great way to kind of end it here. It's been a great way to start our morning here. It was my pleasure to join you. I really appreciate the chance to come out here. It's interesting as someone who coaches middle school runners, you get to watch the high school runners now, and even at other schools too, because you see a lot of these runners in middle school, even at other schools. But it's always fun to see them compete and what they've grown into and what they've grown up to become. And it was impressive display this morning to all of the athletes from all the HCC schools here. So we're going to get the boys' results are coming, so we're going to know the official boys' results. And like I said, I imagine this is going to be a very tight finish for the team compared to the finish that the girls' team had. If you remember, the girls' team had a commanding finish. Noblesville really had a dominant performance as a team in the final standings, but I believe the boys are going to be tighter, so we're going to see that.
All right, so a sweep for Noblesville, boys and girls. For the boys, the final score, Noblesville 38 takes the championship, the conference championship. For varsity, Zionsville second with 45, Franklin Central third, Fishers fourth, Brownsburg fifth, Hamilton Southeastern sixth, Westfield seventh, and Avon eighth. So for the girls and boys, Noblesville takes the sweep with a girls varsity score of 25 for the win and the boys at 38. Congratulations to Noblesville. Zionsville in second with 45. As far as the final results are concerned, senior Asher Probst from Noblesville, 15-14. Your winner, 15-14, Asher Probst, your winner from Noblesville. Second, Braden Hinkle from Franklin Central at 15-16, and Caden Click from Noblesville in third, a junior. Sam, and I apologize here, Quagliarolio, Sam from Fishers. Apologies on your name. Matthew Helton in fifth, and then Jack Strong sixth, Sam Spees seventh, Sam Clore eighth, Ryan Handy ninth, and Tate Muse in 10th. From Fishers, round out the top 10. Again, congratulations to Noblesville. A sweep for the girls varsity at 25 and the boys varsity. They are your conference champions for both boys and girls for Noblesville High School. Congratulations to all the teams and all the runners. And my thanks to all of you for joining us here for the Varsity Cross Country Crossroads Conference Championship here in Noblesville. I'm Adam Grubb along with Steve Olson. Appreciate you watching, and we will see you hopefully at sectionals here in Noblesville. If you have a student here, we hope to see you out here. And my thanks also to all of those behind the scenes at Hamilton County TV for making this broadcast possible. Enjoy your day, enjoy your Saturday and your weekend, everybody. Thanks for watching.